Welcome back to Kringle's Christmas Stories, brought to you by Kringle's Christmas Shop, home of Comet's Choice premium reindeer food.
Oh.
Tonight, we have a heartwarming tale.
Mm.
It's called The Star of Christmas Eves, and
Oh.
it takes us to the snowy Polish village of Vilcevich.
Ah, Vilchevitz. A place where tradition truly comes alive.
Absolutely. And in this story, the tradition of searching for the first star leads young Anya on an unexpected adventure.
I love it.
So get cozy and let's dive into The Star of Christmas Eve.
Sounds good.
The tiny Polish village of Vilcevich was nestled deep in the arms of a snow-laden forest, where the trees stood like solemn sentinels beneath a blanket of glittering frost.
I can picture it.
It was Christmas Eve, and the whole village buzzed with preparations. Smoke spiraled gently from chimneys carrying the smell of baked apples, honey-glazed gingerbread, and hearty mushroom soup into the crisp winter air.
It's amazing how these sensory details transport us right to the heart of this village. You can almost hear the excited chatter of families preparing for their Wigilia feast.
Inside her cozy cottage, Ania, a curious and lively 10-year-old, hummed a cheerful tune as she helped her mama prepare the Wigilia feast.
Oh, I bet she was excited.
The table, covered with a snowy white cloth, gleamed in the candlelight, adorned with steaming dishes and the golden glow of the Christmas wafers.
It sounds so cozy.
Outside the frost-rimed window, the sky blushed, pale pink and silver, as if painting itself for a special performance.
The description of the sky blushing is so evocative, it hints at the magical events about to unfold.
Right.
It makes you wonder if Anya senses that this Christmas Eve will be different.
Anya called her mama, bustling around the kitchen. Don't forget to look for the first star. It's almost time.
I wonder if she'll find it.
Anya's heart skipped with excitement.
I bet.
In their village, spotting the first star was a beloved tradition.
Yes.
It signaled the moment the family could gather around the table for the festive meal. Yet this year, Anya felt a strange sense of wonder, as though the star held a secret she had yet to uncover.
I think that sense of wonder is something we can all relate to, especially around the holidays. It's that feeling that something extraordinary is possible, that magic is just around the corner.
As the final streaks of twilight fell, Anya wrapped herself in a thick woolen scarf, pulled on her fur-lined boots, and slipped out the front door.
She's ready.
The snow crunched beneath her feet as she wandered toward the edge of the village, her breath puffing in soft clouds against the icy air.
It's like stepping into a winter wonderland.
Overhead, the sky deepened to indigo, scattered with a million pinpricks of light.
It's as if she's stepping into a world transformed, a world full of secrets waiting to be discovered. That indigo sky, the crisp air, it all sets the stage for something magical to happen.
I'll find the first star, she whispered to herself, and maybe tonight it will tell me a story.
What a great thought.
The snow-covered field stretched out like a shimmering carpet, each crystal catching the faint light of the heavens. Beyond the fields, the dark forest loomed, its towering pines swaying gently in the evening breeze. Ania's eyes scanned the horizon, searching for a star brighter than the rest.
I find it interesting how Anya actively seeks out the star, rather than passively waiting for it to appear. It speaks to her adventurous spirit, her willingness to go beyond the familiar.
Suddenly, a glimmer caught her eye, a piercing silver light twinkling on the edge of the woods.
Oh, what is that?
Anya gasped. It wasn't just a star. It seemed to be moving, dancing just above the treetops, as if beckoning her closer.
Maybe it's a special star.
Curiosity tingled in her fingertips. Without hesitation, she stepped onto the snowy path that led into the woods.
And here the story takes an unexpected turn. It's no longer just about following tradition, it's about following her heart, her intuition into the unknown.
The forest greeted her with an icy stillness. Snow clung to the branches of the ancient trees, bending them under its weight like bowed sentinels.
That image of the bowed sentinels creates such a sense of mystery and wonder. It's as if the forest itself is watching over Anya as she ventures deeper into its heart.
Anya's boots crunched softly as she followed the star's faint glow, which now seemed to dart between the trees like a mischievous firefly. Wait, she called, her voice echoing in the silent woods. Where are you going?
I wonder if it will answer her.
The star pulsed brighter, illuminating the forest floor in shimmering silver light. Around her, the shadows danced and stretched, creating shapes that looked like animals. Rabbits, hopping foxes slinking, and deer leaping, though when she blinked, they were gone.
Wow.
Then she heard a faint melody like the whisper of wind through pine needles, weaving a song so soft it felt as though the forest itself was breathing it.
This is getting interesting.
It tugged at her heart, drawing her deeper into the woods.
You can almost feel Anya's senses heightened in this moment. The sights, the sounds, it all seems to be pulling her forward, inviting her into a world beyond the ordinary.
At last, Anya reached a clearing where the snow sparkled like a sea of diamonds. In the center of the clearing stood a solitary pine tree, tall and majestic, its branches tipped with glistening frost. Perched at its very top was the star shining brighter than ever, its light cascading like a waterfall of silver and gold.
The imagery here is simply breathtaking. It's as if she's stumbled upon a sacred space, a place where magic and reality intertwine.
Anya stepped forward, her breath caught in her throat. "Why did you bring me here?" she whispered.
And there we have it, a question that hangs in the air filled with anticipation. What will the star reveal?
The star flared, and for a moment its light grew so brilliant that Anya had to shield her eyes. When she opened them, she saw something astonishing. The star was no longer just a light. It had transformed into a figure shimmering and translucent, with flowing robes made of stardust and eyes that sparkled with galaxies.
Wow, that's quite a transformation. It's as if the star has taken on a form that embodies the vastness and wonder of the cosmos.
"Do not be afraid, Anya," the figure said, its voice like the ringing of far-off bells. "You sought me with a heart full of wonder, and so I have come to share my story."
That voice, like the ringing of far-off bells, adds such an ethereal quality to the star's presence. You can almost hear the echoes of ancient wisdom in those words.
Anya's eyes widened. "You can speak."
I'd be surprised too.
The star figure nodded, its glow softening to a gentle radiance. "Long ago, before the world grew busy with noise and haste, people looked to the stars for guidance. On nights like this, they would gather under the sky, waiting for the first star to appear, for it carried a message from the heavens, a reminder of the light that lives in every heart."
That's a beautiful thought, isn't it? That the stars served as a reminder of our connection to something larger than ourselves, to a source of light and guidance within.
Anya tilted her head. "But why did you lead me here to this forest?"
A simple question, but one that gets to the heart of the mystery. Why, Anya? Why this forest? Why tonight?
The star smiled, a kind and knowing expression. "Because you see the world not just with your eyes, but with your imagination. Tonight, I wanted you to know that the light you seek is also within you. It shines brightest when you share kindness, wonder, and love."
That's a powerful message, especially for a young girl like Anya. It's a reminder that true magic comes not from external sources, but from the qualities we cultivate within ourselves.
The star began to rise its form, dissolving back into a single point of light. "Remember, Anya?" It said, its voice fading like a dream. "The brightest stars are those who shine for others."
What a beautiful sentiment. It reminds us that our actions, our kindness, can have a ripple effect, inspiring others to shine their own light.
Anya stood in the clearing, her heart brimming with warmth, even as the cold nipped at her cheeks. The star drifted higher and higher until it was indistinguishable from the other stars in the vast sky. With a renewed sense of joy, Anya retraced her steps through the snowy woods.
I wonder what she's thinking.
The forest seemed less daunting. Now the shadows friendlier, the silence more peaceful. When she reached the edge of the village, she saw her cottage glowing with the warm light of candles.
It's amazing how Anya's experience has transformed her perception of the forest. What was once mysterious and perhaps a little frightening now feels welcoming and peaceful.
Her mama was waiting at the door, worry etched on her face.
Anya, where have you been?
Oh, I can only imagine the relief and concern in her mother's voice.
Anya smiled as she ran into her mama's arms. I found the first star, Mama, she said, her voice filled with wonder. And it told me a story.
And what a story it was. A story that touched her heart and changed the way she saw the world.
Her mama chuckled softly, brushing snow from Anya's scarf. Did it now? Well, come inside. The feast is ready, and we've been waiting for you to start.
There's a beautiful simplicity in that moment, a sense of homecoming and shared tradition. That night, as the family gathered around the table, Anya couldn't help but glance out the window. The first star still twinkled in the sky, its light steady and serene. She smiled to herself, knowing its secret, and made a quiet promise to let her own light shine as brightly as it had taught her to.
It's like she's carrying a piece of that starlight within her now, a reminder of the magic she experienced and the lessons she learned.
The night stretched on, filled with laughter, the clink of dishes, and the warmth of family. Outside, the forest stood silent, the snow glittering under the watchful gaze of the stars, and in the heart of the village, Anya's spirit burned brighter than ever.
And so on that Christmas Eve, in the little Polish village of Wiltewicz, the light of the first star wasn't just a signal for a feast. It was a reminder that the greatest light of all lives within.
Beautifully said.
Thanks. And you know, this story reminds me of something you once said about the importance of finding our own inner star, especially during the holiday season.
Yes, I believe we all have that inner light, that spark of something special that makes us unique.
Yeah,
And the holidays, with all their warmth and traditions, can be a wonderful time to reconnect with that inner star and let it shine.
absolutely. It's about finding those things that bring us joy, that spark our imagination and inspire us to be our best selves. And sometimes, like in Niria, we need a little adventure, a little push outside our comfort zone to discover that light within.
Exactly. It's about embracing the unexpected, being open to new experiences, and trusting that inner voice that guides us toward our true potential.
Well said. Now, before we get too carried away with our own philosophical musings,
Right.
let's take a moment to talk about the cultural context of this story.
Good idea.
You mentioned the Wigilia feast earlier.
Yeah.
Can you tell our listeners a little more about that tradition?
Of course. Wigilia, which means Christmas Eve in Polish, is the traditional Christmas Eve supper in Poland. Yeah. It's a meatless meal that symbolizes waiting for the birth of Jesus, and it's filled with symbolism and special customs.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
What are some of the customs associated with this meal?
Well, one tradition involves setting an extra place at the table for an unexpected guest, symbolizing hospitality and openness to those in need. Another custom is sharing opiotek, a thin wafer, with family members while exchanging good wishes for the coming year.
I love that idea of leaving a place for an unexpected guest. It speaks to the true spirit of the season, welcoming those who may be alone or in need.
And the opiotek tradition is quite beautiful as well. It's a physical representation of the bond between family members and a way to express love and support for one another.
It sounds like a truly magical evening filled with meaning and tradition.
It is, and like the story we just heard, it reminds us of the importance of connection, of sharing special moments with loved ones, and of celebrating the light that shines within each of us.
Well said. And speaking of light, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the star of Christmas Eve.
It's been a pleasure sharing this heartwarming tale with you and exploring its deeper meanings.
Before we go, I have one final question for you. What do you think is the most important takeaway from this story for our listeners?
I believe the most important takeaway is the reminder that we all have a light within us, a capacity for kindness, wonder, and love that can shine brightly and make a difference in the world. It's about embracing our own unique gifts and using them to bring joy to ourselves and others, especially during the holiday season.
Beautifully said. And this story, it really does a beautiful job of highlighting how those small acts of kindness can create a ripple effect, brightening not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us.
As you were talking about that ripple effect, I couldn't help but think about the way the story itself is structured. We start with Ania's individual journey, her personal experience with the star, and then it expands outward to encompass her family, the village, and ultimately even us as listeners.
That's a very insightful observation. It's like those ripples expanding outward from a single point, touching everything in their path. And in a way, that's how stories work, right? They connect us to something larger than ourselves, something universal, and they have the power to inspire us to create those ripples of kindness and compassion in our own lives.
Absolutely. And speaking of inspiration, I'm curious to hear what resonated most with you personally in this story. Was there a particular moment or message that stood out?
Well, I think what struck me most was the way Anaya's perception of the forest changed after her encounter with the star. It went from being a place of darkness and uncertainty to a place of peace and wonder. And I think that speaks to the transformative power of perspective. When we approach the world with a sense of openness and curiosity, we can find beauty and meaning in unexpected places.
That's a powerful thought. And it's a good reminder that even in the midst of challenges or uncertainty, there's always the potential for transformation and growth.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
about embracing those challenges, seeking out the light, even in the darkest of times, and remembering that we always have the power to choose how we perceive the world around us.
Well, on that inspiring note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the Star of Christmas Eve.
It's been a joy sharing this story with you and exploring its many layers of meaning.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Kringle's Christmas Stories, brought to you by www.kringleschristmas.com. By the way, do you have your Comet's Choice Premium Reindeer food? Get yours today at cometschoice.com.
We hope this story has filled your hearts with the warmth and wonder of the season.
Until next time, may your nights be merry and bright.